Hey, my name is James Goodall. I'm a retired Air Force historian, and I've been fascinated with airplanes my whole life and things that go bump in the night. And a number of years ago, I had an opportunity to hold in my hand, just for a brief few seconds, and I wasn't sure what the significance was until later, but I had in my hand a little pie-shaped piece of element 115. And one of the ways I had an opportunity to have and hold element 115 is because of a friendship. And back in November 1988, the Air Force announced the existence of two formerly classified programs. On the 11th and the 22nd of November, they released photos of the F-117 stealth fighter, and the other was the Northrop Grumman B-2 stealth bomber. And they showed the B-2 when they rolled it out, but the photograph they produced on the F-117 was backlit. It used a telephoto lens from a boom operator's position, and the thing was compressed, so you couldn't really tell what kind of swoop it had on it. So I called up my longtime friend, John Lear, who lived in Las Vegas, and he's the son of William Lear of Learjet, and a character. I called him up right after Thanksgiving, and I said, hey, let's go see if we can photograph an F-117, because we knew they were operating out of the Tonopah test range. So he said, sure, come on down. So the first full week of January of '89, I flew into Las Vegas. I lived in Minnesota at the time, rented a car, went and picked up John, and we're heading up US 95, heading towards the town of Tonopah. We were about 2/3 of the way to the town of Tonopah. We were just past Scotty's Junction, which is it was a legal house of prostitution that the federal government took over, and they closed it because they ran it into the ground. I don't know how you can do that, unless the product's spoiled. But we were about 15-20 miles north of Scotty's Junction, and an F-117 flew across the road at about 1,500 feet in elevation and at about a 45-degree angle to the road. I almost crashed the car. I mean, it was just an experience. Here I'm seeing something that was top secret. So we got into Tonopah, grabbed a quick bite, jumped back in our car, headed east on US 6, and that's goes coast to coast, US 6. We go about 18 miles, and there's a big sign that says Tonopah Test Range. And it's run by Sandia and a bunch of other stuff on it. So we head down this road, we go down 18 miles. And I have, because I'm retired military, I have a military ID card that I can get on almost any base, but not those that are in a restricted area. So we drove down the main gate. There was a lot of activity, and so we decided to drive west along the fence line. That's public lands. And this is before digital cameras. So we got all the way down there, we got all set up, and we're just waiting. You can oversee the entire complex from that distance. They're about 8 miles away. And we were about 2 miles from the guard shack along the fence line. And I look to the north, and there's a black fuzzy ball with a little red light underneath it, and sort of bluish white one with a light underneath it. I said, well, that's got to be the F-117 with a photo chase, or safety chase. And this is before digital cameras. I was shooting with a Nikon. I can't remember the model, but it was shooting Kodacolor print film, high quality, fine grain color. And I would have it processed at a photomat if we get to Las Vegas in time. So as this fuzzy dot started getting closer, I'm up here. I have a Nikon telephotos, 70-200. I'm up there getting ready to shoot it. As it's getting closer and it's filling up the viewfinder, I was like a 10-year-old boy seeing a naked woman for the first time. My whole body was just vibrating. I was so excited. And I only have 36 exposures, so I have to be very careful. It's not like today you just hold your button and you can shoot 1,000 frames without knowing it. So I was very cautious what I was shooting at. But I got the whole airplane, and I was beside myself. finally, it went past us. I said, John, let's get out of here. Let's get back to Vegas so we can get to a photo mat. So we packed our stuff, jumped in his car, headed out, went east on US 6 to the extraterrestrial highway, the northern terminus, which is at Warm Springs. Headed down there, and we stopped in Rachel at the infamous Little Alien, had another quick bite. And we knew we weren't going to make it back to Las Vegas in time to go to a photo mat. And I was kind of irritated at that, but that was beside the point. And John had told me that when we get home to his place, he has a new friend coming over. Just moved up here from Albuquerque. He used to work for Sandia, and he's waiting for his Q clearance to be upgraded. Q clearance is a top secret clearance for civilians. So whatever he was going to work on was going to be elevated above just plain top secret. And we're there about 10, 15 minutes. It's about 9:30 at night. I hear a knock at the front door. John goes out and answers the door. He walks the guy in, soft-spoken, nice-looking, young-looking guy, and he introduces himself as Bob Lazar. I didn't know who Bob Lazar was at the time. And I told him what my dilemma was. I have 36 or 37 exposures of the F-117 that no one has really seen the whole airplane. And I need to wait till tomorrow to go to Photomat to get the thing processed. And those of you who are not old enough to remember what a Photomat is, they were a little kiosk in the middle of a parking lot of a shopping center. And they were Kodak colors, yellow and red. And you don't even get out of your car. You just, they hand you an envelope, you put your name on it, you rip the thing off, you put your film in it, and hand it, come back the next day, processed. So Bob came in, there's the three of us there, and we were just talking some small talk, and then I mentioned to Bob of my dilemma. I have to wait to find out if I have anything that's good. I mean, I was vibrating so hard that I didn't know if I had anything that was worth a darn. So he said, hey, I have a C-41 processing unit at my house off of West Charleston. He said, what are you using that for? And he said, to keep myself busy while I'm waiting for my clearance, I do photo processing for realtors. They'll do a shoot at a house, give me the film, I process it, charge them X number of dollars. It's instant. So we jump in his car, and we're about a block away from John Lear's house. And Bob stops and looks at me, and he said, I feel sorry for that dumb son of a bitch Lear. I said, what do you mean you feel sorry for him? He said, he's from this world famous aviation family, and the dumb son of a bitch believes in UFOs. I said, my God, you couldn't put a gun to my head to convince me that UFOs were real. Okay. Fast forward about a year, he's a silhouetted head being interviewed by George Knapp on KLAS, Channel 5, Channel 8, excuse me, talking about working at a place called S4, and he was doing reverse engineering of alien spacecraft. And I became friends with Bob. And I had multiple trips out to Vegas. We'd go out to the fence line, not with Bob, but with Lear. And it was just one of those incredible events. 20 some odd years later, I'm up at Bob's place up in Oregon, and he has a photographic memory. I said, do you remember what you told me the day we met? He said, you mean that I didn't believe in UFOs? I said, yeah, that one. He said, yeah, I remember saying that. I said, you couldn't put a gun to my head. And so I think it was the first or second, maybe the second visit to his house. He was showing me stuff. He was building commercial grade fireworks in his garage, and he had this thing, and it wasn't about where the opening is on my fingers. It was only about that big. I said, what is it? He said, it's element 115. That's what powers the spacecraft. That's what gives it anti-gravity. So not only did I meet a guy that was doing reverse engineering on alien spacecraft, I actually had a chance, just for a brief moment, and at the time I didn't realize the significance of it. He handed me a small chunk of element 115.
What did it feel like?
It was heavy. It was like, holding gold or lead. It was, you look at it, figure it weighed, just a few ounces. You put it in his hand, and it really had some weight to it.
What was the color?
Gray. It was gray in color. And again, I didn't realize the significance at the time.
Did he say how the element 115 powered the ET craft? And did he say on how he snuck it out?
No, I didn't ask at the time. I didn't realize the sensitivity and how important that little piece of element 115 was. I do know he did say that's what powered the craft, that allowed it to shift gravity or do something with gravity. But that was it at the time. And I wish I had taken a picture of it.
What did he say about putting the gun to his head and retracting his statement on the belief of UFOs?
And the 20 years later, when I asked him, I said, well, that was my true feelings. When you asked me if I remembered what I said, and I knew exactly what you meant. That he was you couldn't put a gun to his head to convince him that the UFOs were real. I said, I changed my stance on that now. So, and he's just a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, I asked him when Gorich and the others were coming forward, are you going to contact Congress and testify? He said, no, those SOBs have been trashing my name for the last 35 years. So as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. This is Congress. And the most phenomenal thing, and I didn't realize that at the time, I held in my hand probably the most important element since Einstein and those guys developed some of the very rare isotopes and stuff like that to create bombs. This little thing I had in my hand allowed for interstellar travel. And I wish I had had the forethought to have photographed it, maybe to measure it, but I didn't.